this video, we're going to take a look at some of the stuff that I ordered from Bulk Reef Supply. So first up are some 4x8 BRS mesh filter socks. The filter sock I'm running now is really thick, and I think the mesh will help out. Next up we have some coral feeders. A lot of people use turkey basters, but this set of two was like $10, something like that, and one of them's really long, so I won't even have to put my hands in the tank at all. Next up, I have a 10 milliliter syringe. The Red Sea test kits, one of the tests, you have to have 16 milliliters of water to test, so I just went ahead and got a 10 milliliter syringe. It's $4, plus some of the numbers were wearing off of my 5. And I also picked up the Nano flipper. A lot of people are swearing by these things these days, so I just went ahead and picked one up and we'll give it a try. What I liked about the flipper right out of the box was the fact that it's really light. Unlike the mag floats, they're really heavy. The flipper's really light. First impression once it's on the tank is the fact that it does slide around very easily, unlike the mag float. It is really easy to maneuver around the tank and slide back and forth. So the fact that this thing is really light also has a negative side. I am running an MP10 and an RW4 on the tank, so whenever you pull the dry side of the magnet away from the glass, the tank does have some pretty good flow in it, and with the unit being so light, it will grab it pretty quickly and pull it away from the glass. Out of all of the videos that I've seen on this, everybody's made it look so easy to flip it around, and for me it was actually pretty difficult, and it's taken some practice to figure out exactly the right spot to flip this in. You can see here that the wet side has taken off with the flow of the tank, and now I'm struggling to get the dry side to pull the wet side up to the glass. And on this very instance, I got lucky and it came back to me, but there are times where I've had to stick my hand inside the tank to bring it to the glass. This thing's definitely going to take some getting used to. Once again, it's really easy to slide back and forth on the glass because it's so light, but the downside for me is the fact that the flow will pick it up, and you can see here again I'm struggling to get the magnets to grab one another again. The back of my tank is sprayed with plastic dip, and actually the flipper had no problem working over the outside of the plastic dip. With it even being a little bit of a rough surface, it cleaned the back glass perfectly for me. Since one of the coral feeders is really long that came in the package, I'm able to blow out some of the rocks that I couldn't reach with the turkey baster that I bought from Target. If you saw my unboxing video for my aquarium box for March, whenever I saw that there was Reef Roids in there, that's what I was most excited about, because I was going to buy some of these anyway, and I didn't have to because it came in my subscription box this month. So I'm going to mix up a little bit. I didn't do the recommended amount. I wanted to see how the coral feeder was going to do, and I got lucky because the Reef Roids it's a real fine powder anyway, and I mixed it up with some tank water, and I'll start feeding the coral here shortly. There's a tip that goes onto the coral feeder, and I'm actually probably gonna have to cut it a little bit, but overall it did a very good job. I'm happy with the way that it's working out. You know, for $10 you couldn't beat it. And it's smaller and thinner than a turkey baster, so it won't hold as much water, and you won't waste as much food. In my opinion, you'll be able to really target the areas that you're trying to hit. And I noticed right off the bat that as soon as I started feeding the coral, of course the shrimp's coming up, and he's trying to get him some too. None of the coral that I have in the tank have ever been fed since I've owned them, so I'm anxious to see what's going to happen with the Reef Roids. So hopefully we'll see some good growth here. The cordy up here at the top was actually attached to a different rock, and whenever I removed it from that rock, I noticed that there were some little babies on there, so that's pretty cool. Here's a little zoa garden, and then next we have the green toadstool, and then now we have the only two fish that I have in the tank currently, which are two clownfish. I'm not going to add any more fish to the tank until I can get a screen top for the tank. I don't want to have any jumpers, or I'm going to try to prevent that the best that I can. But so far the clownfish have done pretty well in here. So I have battled algae in the tank. It hasn't been real bad. It's actually a lot better now, and I attribute that to constant water changes or weekly water changes, 5-gallon water changes, running GFO and carbon in the reactor, and also the snails that I added to the tank. So it hasn't gotten out of hand. It started to, and I kind of caught it before it got real bad, so I was able to eradicate most of it out of the system. Thanks everyone for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe.